guys and welcome back. So today I'm going to be doing a handmade paint review. Aga from Hungry for Paint very kindly sent me some paints to try out. She sent them to me quite a while ago and I've only just gotten around to playing with them and experimenting with them, so I apologise Aga that it's taken so long, but here is the review. I'm going to give you my full unfiltered thoughts on this and we're going to take a good look at them. So this is me unwrapping them and you can see they're all really nicely wrapped. All of the colours are labelled on the bottom of the pan, so you remember which colour is which. And they're all set really nicely. There's no soft colours, there's no runny colours, there's no colours that are cracked on top or anything. They're all just really good, really uniformed, and they're really nice colours. They also come with these really cute little wrappers that you can also keep and stick to any paper if you want to keep a record of it. And yeah, it's just really nicely wrapped. And there's plenty of paint in each pan too. Aga has been nice and generous and poured plenty of paint in there. So let's swatch them out and take a look at what they look like. So if you've not seen me do this before, I'll explain. Normally I put a concentrated swatch of colour at the top of each square and I blend it out with clear water. For me, this is a really good way to test paint. It shows me the most concentrated colour that I can get and what it also looks like washed out really fine and thinly. As well, you also see how the paint moves in water and if it's a spreader or not. I'm doing this on cold pressed paper so it will show up any granulation, because some paints don't granulate so nicely on hot pressed paper. The colours that Aga sent me were bark, the deep, stone, anise, rosemary, chamomile and the shallow. I have a weird feeling I may have got one of these squares mixed up, but I cannot from memory remember which one it is, so you'll just have to try and guess if you've seen this colour or if you've seen it and it's wrong. Let me know. But yeah, these are the colours that I'm painting out here. All of them re-wetted fairly well. I had no issues with re-wetting any of them really, I don't think. They all behaved really nicely straight from the pan. Looking at these colours, I knew I was going to have a little bit of a challenge on deciding what subject to paint. As you'll notice from this colour selection, there aren't any primary colours. I think the closest we get is to one of them being a yellowish green. I'm going to take a guess like azo yellow. But these are not a traditional paint set like you might find from a commercial brand like Winsor & Newton or Schminker. That being said, you can tell that the colours work really nicely together before we even start painting, and any painting you're going to paint with a set like this is going to have really good colour harmony because they all kind of look like they're related to each other. So Aga has done a really good job at building this little collection here, and she has many more colours too, not just the ones that I've got here. I'm going to leave you a link down in the description bar to all of Aga's bits and pieces, so her Instagram page, her website, and her YouTube channel as well. Before she started making handmade paint, she actually reviewed some handmade colours, including my own as well, so I will try and link that somewhere too if you'd like to hear her thoughts on my paint. And oh, how the tables have turned, right? I've known Aga for quite a while, so it's really nice to see her paints evolve over time from when she started making them, and as well to see all of her stuff that she does on YouTube. And it's been a real joy, and it feels like a real privilege that I've been able to get to play with these paints and experiment with them. As you can see, they're not the most conventional paints that you might sometimes get from brands, which makes them even more fun to play with because it's almost like uncharted territory. So these are the paints now all dried. If you do want a slightly closer look at this colour chart, you can find a link to it on my Patreon page, along with all the other colour charts that I paint out, so you can take a closer look at them and spend a bit more time looking at it if you want to study the colours a little bit more. And here they are, I put them all into a tin. So it's a top row in this palette that I've got here. I do have a couple of other handmade paints in this palette, such as ones from Boxer Paint and as well Eve. I will leave links to those somewhere too if you want to check out those videos where I reviewed those brands. But we're going to focus on Hungry for Paint today, and let's start painting. Now I did struggle on what to paint to start with, so I did some colour generator idea sort of exercises and did some Googling, and I settled on the idea of doing a illustrated painting of a cabin in the woods. I felt these colours really suited that kind of design quite well. I feel it's really important when doing a product review, particularly when it comes to paints, to try it out in an illustration and not just rely on a swatch card to make an opinion. You're not going to know how a paint handles or mixes or behaves until you really start to use it. I've tried quite a few brands that had absolutely beautiful colour charts and when swatched out do really well. When it comes to mixing them, I find they don't mix so well, or they mix very dully, or they just don't behave very nicely when I go to use them. So it's really important to take your time and really experiment with a paint brand, particularly if it's a new paint brand to you, you've never tried it before. Really allow it some time and room to develop and experiment with before forming an opinion on it, which is what I've tried to do here. I've tried to do an entire illustration with the paints and just these paints to get a real good feel for them. These colours do mix really nicely together. That is partly down to the colours that Aga chose for me, but also as well the actual paint formula itself, they mix together really nicely. All of the colours dry really well too, there's not too much of a drying shift, and they all dry not really nicely and really well too. You can see the roof does look a little bit patchy, however this is more due to the pigment. I believe this paint has hematite in it, which is quite a granulating paint and the pigments really like to settle, so it's very difficult to get a very smooth flat wash with that. So that's more down to my application and the type of pigment rather than anything to do with the paint itself. Some of these paints have some real beautiful granulation and texture in them, and I felt they really helped this piece just stand out and come together that little bit more. I didn't experience anything weird or unusual with these paints, and they felt very premium and high quality, so they're very great paints. I had a lot of fun experimenting with all the different colours and the outcomes I could get from mixing them together. I'm not going to lie, it felt a little bit strange as these colours are very far out of my comfort zone. I don't think I've got any colours like this on my colour palette, or any colours like this I've really worked with before, so it was a very fun challenge to try them out and see what I could come up with. So just some information now about paints and how to get them. I will leave links down below, as I said, to Aga's website, for example, but I just want to give you the heads up that Aga mostly sells in watercolor sets of colours that she's chosen to go together, and they do work really nicely together, and she has some really amazing sets. She has lots of different theme sets depending on what kind of vibe and what kind of things you like to paint. But going off of this selection that she's chosen for me here, I would say that she has a very good eye for selecting colours that go well together. These colours have worked very well together, and you could also mix and match sets and buy more than one and see how you get on with it. I think she does occasionally sell the odd panel too, but if you have any questions, I would recommend reaching out to her and asking her. She's very nice, very approachable, so make sure you do that if you've got any questions that I've not covered here. It was at this point in the illustration that I felt it was really starting to come together. I had quite a lot of little and small elements in this illustration, and I felt quite lost to start with in this painting. This is also not my traditional style, so it's also quite new to me as well to paint like this. So it was a fun journey, because as well on top of that it's new paints, different colours, and yeah, it was just a fun journey from start to finish. And it's always really nice, no matter what I'm painting, there's always a moment where the painting sort of comes together and you feel like you're getting somewhere. And this was kind of that moment as I was kind of filling in these details and additional bits. You might see me sort of checking my phone or my watch here occasionally. I painted some of this during a live stream, which was really fun to hang out with too. I normally just live stream on Twitch nowadays. You can find a link down below in my description. And yeah, we just hang out, we sometimes paint, we play with paints, we try different mediums, sometimes I'll make paint. And one of these live streams I decided to continue with this illustration. It's really fun. I try to get my viewers to guess which brand of paint I was painting with. None of them guessed what it was though, so hopefully they're watching this and they're kicking themselves for not guessing. I've tried to slow down some of this illustration and left some bits in real time, just so you can see it at a slower pace and in more detail. But at the same time, I can't have it all in real time because you'd be sat here for hours. And here was a really fun bit for me to paint the green grass around the cabbing. That really felt fun to paint and really brought it all together, I felt. It really tied it all, it made it feel like a more contained illustration. Overall, I had a lot of fun playing with these paints, and they were a real joy to work with. They felt really nice to use, and I had no issues at all from start to finish. If you're kind of looking for a new handmade paint brand that's a bit different from the norm, I could definitely recommend these paints because they're really, really good paints. I do have to say thank you so much to Aga for sending these to me again to try out. It's been a real pleasure to do so, and I really enjoyed it. I will leave all this information down below if you do want to check it out. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next video. Thanks guys, and take care, and ciao.